The movie begins with World War II going on between Russia and Germany. Our main character, a 6-year-old boy named Sergei, wakes up to a big explosion. He rushes outside to check on his mom and brother, but then his next-door neighbor comes up to him with some shocking news. The blast was caused by the Germans and his family died due to it. She warns him to run because if the Germans catch him, they won't be kind. Even though Sergei doesn't fully understand what's happening, he follows her advice and jumps out of the window. But just as she's about to leave, the Germans shoot her from behind and she falls right there. Sergei is unable to watch this and flees. He heads towards the woods, and when he looks back, he sees the Germans setting his town on fire. He cries because he couldn't save his family, but he knows he has to move on. Sergei's journey takes him into a dark forest where he's completely alone, hungry, and thirsty. He's been walking for so long and there's nothing to eat or drink. But then luck seems to be on his side. He finds some Germans having a meal, and he decides to hide nearby. However, a snake appears, and even though he's just a 6-year-old, he doesn't scream, all to avoid being caught by Germans. Once the Germans finish eating, they leave behind some leftovers. Sergei grabs all that food and starts eating it as fast as he can since he hasn't eaten for so long. He spends the night there before continuing his journey the next morning. With no food in sight, he starts eating bushes and leaves. After a long journey, he reaches an open area where another explosion takes place. Sergei realizes it's another German attack, but he doesn't panic this time. He holds a tree branch in his hand and pretends it's a rifle. Then he takes a nap nearby, but soon it starts to rain. Sergei, who has been thirsty for a while, begins drinking the rainwater. Later, he continues his journey, but collapses due to exhaustion and starvation. That's when a group of soldiers approached him. Luckily, they're revealed to be Russian soldiers. Commander Kuznetsov, who leads the battalion, comes up to Sergei and asks about his family. Sergei tells them the heartbreaking story of how his mom and brother were killed by the Germans' explosion, and now he's an orphan. The soldiers are deeply moved by Sergei's tragic story, and seeing how weak he is, Commander Kuznetsov orders his men to transport Sergei to a nearby treatment center. At the center, Nurse Katya is assigned to care for Sergei, and she showers him like a mother. Not only does she love him, but all the other patients there also love him. Sergei quickly becomes a source of entertainment for everyone with his spirited speeches. Commander Kuznetsov, too, makes regular visits to check on Sergei. As Sergei spends more time with them, he notices the special connection between Commander Kuznetsov and Katya. It is clear they have feelings for each other, but both are hesitant to confess. Commander Kuznetsov behaves like Sergei's dad and is determined to keep him safe. One day, Commander Kuznetsov approaches Katya and requests that she look after Sergei a bit more during his absence. He reveals that he is going to the main base to inform them about Sergei and that they will soon transfer him to an orphanage. Katya, deeply in love with Sergei, pleads with him to let Sergei stay with them permanently. However, the commander, worried about the Germans' attacks, declines, which leaves Katya feeling frustrated and upset. Sergei has become a beloved figure among all the soldiers in the army. During wartime hardships, he's the one who brings a smile to their faces. One fateful day, the German forces launch an attack on their base. However, the Russians manage to defeat them, but many of their soldiers are left seriously wounded. A few days later, a soldier arrives at the base in a jeep. He delivers a message to the commander, stating that it's time to take Sergei to the orphanage. The commander calls Sergei for a final meeting, and Katya, overcome with sorrow, heads to the treatment center in tears since she is unable to see Sergei departing. In this emotional meeting, the commander can no longer contain his feelings and offers Sergei a choice between going to the orphanage or living with him as his son. Sergei is overjoyed upon hearing this and embraces the commander, calling him dad for the very first time. The commander instructs the soldier to return, informing him that Sergei will remain with him as his son and that he will soon come to the main base for paperwork. The news of Sergei staying with them fills everyone with joy. They quickly provided him with an army uniform and a pair of shoes. Sergei is happy to be wearing these soldierly garments and starts pretending to be a real soldier. However, the happiness is short-lived as the Germans launch another attack, this time from the skies, with planes raining down bombs. The base suffers heavy damage, with many soldiers losing their lives or getting severely injured. Sergei, still in his uniform, rushes to check on his soldiers, offering help to anyone in need. Later, he visits the patients in the treatment center. There, a wounded soldier, who has lost both his eyes, asks Sergei to read a letter for him. Now, Sergei, at the tender age of 6, can't actually read, but he doesn't want to disappoint the blind soldier, so he takes the letter and pretends to read it. When the blind soldier asks about the contents, Sergei creatively improvises, saying that everything is fine at home and that their cow is now producing more milk. The blind soldier is puzzled, claiming he doesn't own any cows. Suddenly, another injured soldier bursts into laughter, instructing the blind one to just listen to Sergei's self-made story. It turns out that Sergei isn't reading the letter. Instead, he's simply creating a fake story to make the soldier feel better. This act by Sergei brings smiles to all the injured soldiers. A few days later, Sergei, shaving his so-called bear, catches the eye of some fellow soldiers. They playfully ask him if he's got a date lined up. Sergei, in his serious soldier mode, responds that soldiers aren't meant to date. They're here to do their duty for their country. Then, Sergei goes up to the commander to ask if there are any special tasks for him. The commander indeed has a job for him, delivering letters to everyone. Sergei salutes smartly and goes about distributing the letters to his fellow soldiers. With the letters all delivered, Sergei decides to have a little solo adventure in the forest. As he looks here and there through binoculars, he finds something unusual, a mysterious foot hiding in the bushes. Without wasting any moment, he dashes back to camp and reports his discovery to the commander. Quick as lightning, the commander assembles a team to check out those bushes. After a bit of searching, they finally catch some German spies. Later, the commander praises Sergei for his excellent work, and in a touching moment, he shares some life-changing news with Sergei. He has now officially adopted him as his son, with all the paperwork done. Both of them break into big smiles, celebrating their deep bond. Later that same day, the German forces launched another attack. The commander instructs Sergei to stay in his room. During the war, an explosion occurs, breaking their radio connection to the command center. Since the commander urgently needs to send an important message to the main base, he orders a brave soldier to fix the damaged cables. Although Sergei was ordered to stay away from the war zone, he can't help but follow that soldier, hoping to assist him if required. Unfortunately, the soldier gets shot and falls. Sergei quickly approaches the fallen soldier and asks for guidance in repairing the radio wire. He listens to him carefully, and when he reaches the fault point, he successfully fixes the issue, restoring communication with their main base. The mini-war ends, and everyone comes to know that it was Sergei who fixed the issue. They are all amazed that, regardless of his young age, Sergei is a capable soldier. During the night, Sergei realizes that even though the commander and Katya have feelings for each other, they aren't expressing them. To bring them together, he deceives Katya into believing that the commander is severely injured. She rushes to check on him, but finds him unharmed. Katya shares Sergei's words with the commander, and they both realize that Sergei only wants them to become a family. The commander takes the best of this opportunity and proposes to Katya in an unconventional way, asking if she will be Sergei's mom. In response, Katya blushes and agrees. The commander decides it's time to leave the base due to continuous German attacks. On their way to another base, they face an unexpected yet brutal German attack, resulting in heavy losses. Although all of them fought bravely, only a few soldiers managed to reach the next base, where the general was waiting. The commander briefs the general about their situation, and Sergei, true to his soldierly nature, salutes the general. He asks the commander for any orders. The commander assigns Sergei the task of checking every soldier's shoes and making a list of those in need of new ones. Sergei completes the task and impresses the general, who salutes him. Sergei seizes this chance and asks the general to approve his father's engagement to Nurse Katya, which makes the general and the commander laugh hard. During a nighttime stroll with his father, Sergei gets to know many important things that soldiers do. While this father-son bond is getting stronger, the Germans launch another attack, resulting in the tragic loss of soldiers. Sergei survives, but his father goes missing. After a bit of searching, Nurse Katya finds Sergei. He desperately asks her about the commander's whereabouts, but she stays quiet and takes him to the medical facility, where he discovers the commander, who is severely injured. This sight leaves Sergei heartbroken and afraid of becoming an orphan again. Sergei begins to cry, as every kid of his age will do. However, the commander, despite his condition, advises Sergei that men should not cry, causing him to stop crying while still feeling deeply saddened. Days pass by, and the commander gets better and better with time. Later, he marries Katya, and now Sergei has his mom as well. Sergei continues his journey as a soldier, traveling to various countries, including Poland and Germany. He gains a lot of respect from fellow soldiers for his countless acts of bravery. He also earns the Military Special Award for Battle Merit due to his patience, courage, and patriotism. And this is where the movie ends. Thanks for joining us all the way to the end. Did we nail it or fail it? By the way, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the MTV Recaps channel and tell us in the comment section which movie deserves our recap treatment next.